Okay, everybody, I'd like to welcome you back to another The Valley of Dry Bones, right? Where we attempt to wake the dead, even though they don't want to be woken. No, they don't want to be woken. Don't think they want to be woken. The dead want to remain the dead, right? So, we still got to prophesize and wake them and open their eyes, right? So in Genesis 2:17, King James Version, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest, therefore thou shalt surely die. All right? And in the description, you would see this right here, where I say the Bible is simply, the fruit from the tree of good and evil, right? And inside that tree is, people are given the good, but there is a group that also uses this, for bad, as we would say, considering that they're using you as cattle, right? They're using you for the advancements, right? So we will be getting into this, but, also talked on the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we will be going into the story of Cain and Abel. Not the whole story, because it's not really a big story, but it holds major weight. That part of the story holds major weight because as I did another show, I told you that Adam would technically be, the first slave, right? The first one who was taken from his land, put into another land to work, right? And then he was given, a woman, and then some other people had to come along and explain to him that he was, in this situation, right? But in that, if you know anything about the Talmud, you would know, the story of Lilith, and you would also see Naamah in that story, right? So Naamah, we will see also when it comes down to Lamech, the story of Lamech, Tubal-cain and them, where that was, the daughter of Lamech and Tubal-cain's sister, right? Then, if you knew the Talmud, you would also know that Naamah was also present at Noah's Ark. And, if you go back into the Bible, when you read about King Solomon, you will know that his wife was Naamah. And so we'll get into that part, with the demon side of it later. But right now, we're just going to deal with the system that was set up to basically use you, and benefit off of that. All right. So in Genesis 4:16, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. Right. So we know this is after, Cain, killed his brother. That's what I said. We're not going to deal with the story itself. We're going to deal with the aftermath. Right. We know that he was given a mark and he was sent out, within the people. So he was protected by this mark, while at the same time, allowing him to set up this system. Right. So what it meant by what is meant by land of Nod, right? So let me bring this up here. Land of Nod, noun, Old Testament, a region to the east of Eden, to which Cain went after he had killed Abel, right? So now we understand that this is where he went after he killed Abel, right? In the English tradition, Nod was sometimes described as a desert inhabited only by fierce beast or monsters. Others interpreted Nod as a dark or even underground, away from the face of God. Augustine described unconverted Jews as dwellers in the land of Nod, which he defined as commotion or carnal disquietude, or whatever, right? So anyway, let me bring that up so y'all can see it there, right? See right there. All right, so as we could see in this land of Nod, right, and we also in the last show we covered, the making of a god, and so we understand that Augustine, right, he was the final nail and basically the Jesus movement, right? So now we can understand why he's going after unconverted Jews, right? So now we come down here, right? The land of Nod is a place mentioned in the book of Genesis of the Hebrew Bible, located in the east of Eden, right? Where Cain was exiled by God after Cain had murdered his brother Abel, according to Genesis 4. Right, so we're gonna explore this land of Nod, right? And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden, right? So then it says Genesis 4:17 relates that after arriving in the land of Nod, right, Cain's wife had a son, which with him Enoch, right, in whose name he built the first city. Right, so he built this first city after his son. But before they had this son, the city built, they was living in this land, right? So we're gonna explore this land. Now remember, it's out of the presence of God. So they had already, rebelled against the system, right? And so when they ran off, they went, and when I say they, I mean Cain, as far as, a group of people, right? And so they ran off into the land of Nod, where, they set up their own system, right? Nod is the Hebrew root of the verb to wander, right? Therefore, to dwell in the land of Nod could mean to live in a land, live a wandering life. Genesis defines as follows, right? To be moved, to be agated, right? Where we use of reed shaken by the wind. Hence, to wander, to be a fugitive, right? Figuratively, right? The harvest has fled, right? So we understand, remember, Adam was a worker, right? And he tilled the land. So now the harvest has fled. Those workers, had left. They went and did their own thing, right? So much as Cain's name is connected to the verb meaning to get in Genesis 4:1, the name Nod closely resembles the word nad, usually translated vagabond, right? So we know vagabond like a criminal, right? Or a traveler, right? And the readings, rendering of the same verse, God cursed Cain to trembling, right? The Greek version of Nod written and appears, pardon me, because a lot of this, when I did this, see, I can see it bigger on the screen than I can actually see it. So if you see me looking this way, that means I'm looking at, my other screen because it's bigger there, right? So possibly derives from the plural, right, which refers to resting and sleeping, right? So we're going to go into this land of Nod, this wandering, this trembling, right? To shake and, to understand sleep, right? And how this all is going to play a part. This deviation, coincidentally, is not connected with the English pun on nod, right? So it's not connected to that. So don't, take it in the same way. Interpretation, just sophist. And Antiquities of the Jews, AD 93, that Cain continued his wickedness in Nod, resorting to violence and robbery, establishing weight in measures, transforming human culture from innocence into craftiness and deceit, establishing property lines and building a fortified city, right? So these are the attributes that you should be able to look around at any time from this point and notice a group of people, right? Right. Continued his wickedness in Nod, right? Resorting to what? Violence and robbery. But more importantly, establishing weight and measures. Right? Why is that important? Because even when you read the Bible, we hear about those people who would cheat the scales, like add weights to it and, to deceive. So these are the people who help set up one system, but use that system to cheat the people. Right, so you're using a system right now, right? These scales and these things, but they were designed also for these people to benefit off of it, right? Nod is said to be outside of the presence or face of God. Origin defines Nod as a land of trembling and wrote that symbolize the conditions of all who forsake God, right? Early communicators treated it as the opposite of Eden. Worse still, that the land is exiled for the rest of humanity. In the English tradition, Nod was sometimes described as a desert inhabited only by furious beasts and monsters. Other interpreted Nod as a dark or even underground away from the face of God, right? And then we know what Augustine said, right? Place in Nod. Then we also, in the UK, we got the land of Nod, is the name of a hamlet in East Riding of Yorkshire, right? And I also put inside there, right? Splending more, the Moors. So we need that there. This is all going to connect. A lot of this stuff is going to connect. So please let it just be there for a minute. Right now, this is, in the U.S., land of Nod was according locally to the northerly 3,000 acres of the great plot lying north of Woburn, Massachusetts, at the foundation in 1640 to 42. The name being probably suggested by the comparison of folklore conditions so far remote from church audience. Or, audience, with the nod to which Cain wandered when he went from the presence of the Lord. So remember, remember when we associate Great Britain, then we also have Massachusetts, one of these founding states. And we got like the Quakers and all of this. And so these people, right, they set up a place where they can do their own thing away from, the church system. So let's look into Traverse, right? Damn, I forgot to put something in here. Hold on a minute. Because I forgot to put the connection. Okay. When you look up Hebrew, right? It means, like from Moses, it means to traverse. So, what I'm doing here is showing you these group of people who basically tell you themselves where, it's from. So hold on, let me actually close this for a minute and let me just pull up that information for y'all real quick here. Give me a second. All right. What does Hebrew mean? There you go. Semitic. Pardon me here. I'm just looking for some for y'all because I should have had it already there. So I take full responsibility for this. Okay, here we go right here. All right. Let's see this. Hold on. So I'm gonna have to move this over. Let's see if I can shrink this for you for real quick. All right. Okay, it says the biblical term Hebrew pronunciation, meaning traverse or to pass, is usually rendered as Hebrew, right, in English from the ancient Greek, right, and Habudius, right? So you see this right here. So this is what I was going to add to it. So now you see it. You understand what traverse means, right? So when we say in traverse, we're actually, referring to the Jews, right? Or the Hebrews, my fault, right? So traverse, right? Presenting, traversing, travel across or through, right? So that's one. Extend across or through a moving catwalk that traversed a vast cavum of space, cross a hill or mountain by means of a series of sideways movements from one particular line of accent or descent to another. I often use this route, eventually traversing around the cliff, sky diagonally across the slopes with only a slight descent. Sky portal workers traverse its slopes, right? Considered or discuss the whole extent of a subject. He would traverse a number of subjects and disciplines. Like right now, I would be considered traversing, right? I'm going through these different things and showing you how they're connected. Move something back and forth or sideways. A probe is traversed among the tunnel. So we can traverse people as well. We can move people from, one area to another, move them back and forth, and I'm talking about mentally, not just in a physical way, shifting their thoughts to get things the way you want it. And we will be discussing it that way, right? Then it says law, deny an allegation, and pleading. The plaintiff must assert certain facts which, if traversed, he would put to prove, right? That's very, very important, right, to this version of traverse, because people are basically on trial. Even today, these days, we could see, when people make allegations, right, you slandering and whatnot, you have to basically go through that stuff to prove your innocence, right? So let's go back up here. Right, traverse, plural noun, an act of traversing something, high level walks, and a dolomite often involves steep, exposed climbs, traverse, and descents, right? A hill or mountain where traveling is necessary, a narrow traverse made lethal by snow and ice. A movement following a diagonal course made by skiers descending a slope, right? A zigzag course. Like we know like how a serpent moves. So when we hear the story of the snake, right? Followed by a ship because winds or currents prevented from sailing directly towards its destination. A part of a structure that extends or is fixed across something. There were 3 jaws in the traverse of the cross and the 4 in the body. Right, so we understand what this traversing is, right? Proverbs 8:20 through 22, King James Version. New King James Version. I traverse the way of righteousness. Right, hold on, let me bring this up some more for you. I traverse the ways of righteousness in the midst of the path of justice, that I may cause those who love me to inherit wealth, that I may fill their treasures. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. All right. So then we're going to go again. A single line of survey usually plotted from compass bearing a chained or paced distance between angle points, right? Military. A pair of right angle bends incorporated in the trenches to avoid engulfed fire. Right? Traverse. So then we got, I want you to pay attention, right, to this old French. I want you to pay attention to that, because that's gonna play up on my next show will be about, well, no, not the next one, the one after that. We will be getting into how in a modern time will we start bringing a lot of this stuff up into how the satanic system has been able to flourish, right? And the French play a major role in that, right? And traverse, sense in the third verb from Old English, traverse in the late, noun, right? Traverse masculine, traverse feminine, partly based on traverses. Now, Remember, right now we're going through this gender war, right? So in the gender war, first we see this shifting of power from one to another. And so when you see them saying, oh, the woman is God, right now is because of this, this system that has pulled the shift, right? And so we will be getting into that. And it's, I call it the Jezebel's religion, right? So Freemasonry is the Jezebel religion. Pardon me here. Let me check my phone real quick. Matter of fact, while I'm doing that, let me turn my phone down. All right, okay. Judges. So now we'll be going in through a couple of verses where you can actually see traversing the Bible and see it next to some type of meaning, right? And the sons of Dan sent out their family, 5 men of them, men sons of valor, and from Zorah, and from Ethiel, to traverse the land and to search it. And they say unto them, go search the land. And they came unto the hill country of Ephraim, unto the house of Mech, and lodged there. Right? Then that's Judges 18:2. So this is 18:4. Judges still. Right? And the 5 men, those going to traverse the land of Laish, answered and say unto their brethren, have ye known that there is in these houses in Ephab and Teriumph and graven images and molted images, and now what ye do, right? And then it traverse again. Yea, the 5 men, those going to traverse the land, go up. They have come in thither and have taken the graven images and the ephod and the Teriumph and the molted image, and the priest is standing at the opening of the gate, and the 600 men who are grinded with weapons of war, right? So they went in there, caused their little thing, figured out what they needed to find out, and now they was ready for war. Right. So now I want to get into, so we understand the land. Now we got to understand how they work within this system, right? This system of back and forth, traversing, shall we say. We'll be getting deeper into that. But for now, let's look into how, in the Bible, how they want, in the Quran too, the Bible in the Quran warns you of this religion, this system. People call it religion. I just call any of these, what you call religion, I call systems, right? So, let's explore, the Christian and Islamic systems on how they both warn you of this system, right? So we got Proverbs 6:12-13. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech, winks his eyes, signal with his feet, points with his fingers. Right? So, I gave you the understanding of suggestion. So the pointing of the finger goes with suggestion, meaning for you, right? The wink of the eye and the signaling of the feet is those who will basically join in on the lie to make the lie seem convincing as they lead you into a certain belief or thought system, right? And then we see in the Quran, where it says, hold on, let me bring this up here. Say, I seek refuge in the land of mankind, the sovereign of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the retreating whisperer, who whispers evil into the breast of mankind, from among jinn and mankind, right? So they're telling you, they're, in this one they mentioned the whisperer. So, those who set up a system, pardon me there, who set up a system to operate in secret, right? While pardon me, while at the same time allowing them to not be known, where like, so they can sit amongst you and shift the people without the people knowing that they're in the system. So that's why when you know about Freemasonry, the first 2 degrees until you become a master mason, you don't even have an identity, meaning that you don't have no signs and symbols, but yet you are still doing the work of that system. So those people who are not revealed, who have not been able to reveal themselves yet, are still doing the work. And those are the ones who the whisperers, the winking of the eyes and the tapping of the feet. These would be the shields. If I did a show on shields, so and I should be putting that in the link above, right? So then we go to another one. Let's not those rejoice over me who are wrongfully my foes, and let not those wink the eye who hate me without cause. Right? So again, there's people who would love to see you, in misery and whatnot, and choose to be your enemy. But if you move correctly, you can always keep them in more misery than they can keep you, right? And those with the winking of the odds, these people who use signals and stuff like that in order to cause conflict, right? And who work in the backgrounds and think that you don't know that they there. So that's Psalms 35:19. Let not those rejoice over me who are wrongfully my foes, and let not those wink the eye who hate me without cause. All right. So then we go to Proverbs 16:30. Whoever winks his eye plans dishonest things. He who purses his lips bring evil to pass. Right. So again, we know that this secret system cannot be for good. So whenever you seeing people operating like this, I always point them out. I got a whole system over here that I got a whole videos that I'm gonna upload and show you this system in real time. Right. I'm gonna show you it in real time. I'm gonna show you the players and all of that, so you'll know that everything that I'm saying is actuality. Right? This system is real and these people are real. All right. So it says, whoever winks the eye causes trouble, and a babbling fool will come to ruins. And that's Proverbs 10:10. Right? So whoever winks an eye causes trouble. Like all of those who's thinking they doing things in secret, it ain't for good. It's only for bad, right? And so, I'm here to reveal this system to you, So I make a lot of enemies because they didn't know that there was people out there who know what they do and how to reveal them, right? So then we go, and this is from the Quran, right? and from the evil of all human beings bent on occult endeavors, and from the evil of those witches casting spells by blowing onto knots, and from women who blow on knots. Right? So even the Quran gets more to the point of the Jezebel system. Right? So they point out this system and they tell you who are, the ringleaders of this system. Right? So it says again, and this is right here, Ayah al-Falik, right? The daybreak, dawn, 113:4, right? So it says, and from the evil of all human beings bent on occult endeavors, and from the evil of those witches casting spells by blowing on knots, and from women who blow on knots, right? So, we understand that's why when we can think about the Hellenistic period, and so if you know about the Hellenistic period, you would know that Freemasonry is basically the Hellenistic period 2.0, right? It's the new version of this system, right? So then remember, so this back and forth, that's why I pointed out, I put that, up there first, right? Showing you this system within the Bible, the Quran, they both tell you it's there. So now you can look around and be able to, if you pay attention and if you know how to spot the system, you will never be lost in it. You will always know the players. You understand what I'm saying? And you'll know how they move because you just know. You'll just be on point, right? And so I'm putting you on point to the system, right? So then we got Job 1:7. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence cometh thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down it, right? So what is this to and fro? To and fro is an activity involving alternating movements in opposite directions, like a serpent, right? So when we see traversing, right, the moving, sideways to and fro, we understand this serpent state, right? This snake-like activity, right? So you see right there, activity, alternating movements in opposite directions. So to and fro, traversing, and we see them to a group of people, right? That's associated with this, the Canaanites, right? So the Canaanites would be this serpent type people, these snakes who caused this trouble, built this system, right, and hide amongst you to use this system against you, right? So then we come here. So then we're going to go through a couple of verses that has to do with to and fro. So you can go in the I think is Bible Gateway, one of them. I mainly use Bible Gateway. So go to Bible Gateway and you can type in to and fro and you will get, basically a list of things that'll come up, right? So then we're going to go into here. So this is Daniel 12:4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even in the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Right? Then it goes, and the man, this is Zechariah 1:10. And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, these are they whom the Lord hath sent to walk to and fro through the earth. Right? Remember, he sent Satan. So this is telling you in Zechariah, and the men that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, these are they whom the Lord has sent to walk to and fro through the earth. So when we see that, remember, it's like it was saying Satan, but it's a group of people. Right? They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the house. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. Again, we see you connected to criminal activity. Zechariah 1:11, and they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle tree and said, we have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. Right? And it says Amos 8:12, and they shall wander from sea to sea, and from north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. Right? Zechariah 4:10. For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet of in the hands of Jubal. Right? With those seven, they are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth. Right? So you want to look up Zechariah 4:10. Right? Then we got Zechariah 6:7. And the bay went forth and sought to go, that they might walk to and fro through the earth. And he said, get you hence, walk to and fro through the earth. So they walked to and fro through the earth. Right? And it goes, that we henceforth be no more children. Hold on, let me put this up here. Full screen. Right. That we hence be more children, tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine by sleight of men, and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Right? This right here, I'm gonna save this one for my next show, but pay attention to that. Right? That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by sleight of men, and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. That's probably one of the most powerful verses right there, right? And we will be breaking it down. It'll explain itself as we go on, right? So pardon me here. Genesis 8:7. And he sent forth a raven, right, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Job 2:2. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence cometh thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down it. So if we see it inside the other verses, right, these people, we call them Satan, we'll just call them Satanists for this sake of argument. And we see this action, this snake-like action, and the action is technically just arguing, causing conflicts within, a wishing name. Now, within that conflict is a resolution that was designed, and we'll be getting into that into that system. But first, I just wanted to break down this to and fro. Right? Kings 24:35. Then he returned and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the children sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Right? When I lie down, this is Job 7:4. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise and the night be gone? I am full of tossing to and fro until the dawning of day. Right? Chronicles 2, right? 16 through 9. And the eyes of the Lord ran to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong in the behalf of them whose hearts is perfect towards him. Herein thou hast done foolishly. Therefore, from henceforth thou shalt have wars. Right? So then we got Job 13:25. Wilt thou break the leaf driven to and fro? And wilt thou pursue a dry stubble? Then we got Isaiah 49:21. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, who has begotten me these? Seeing I have lost my children, and I am desolated, a captive in removing to and fro, and who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These were had they been. Right, and that's Isaiah 49:21. But then we got Job 1:7. But we already read that one. Jeremiah, we can go to Jeremiah 5:1. Run ye to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem, and see now, and know, and seek in the broad place thereof. If ye can find a man, if there be any that excludeth judgment, that seeketh truth, and I will pardon it. Right? Psalms 107:27. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man, and are at their wits' ends. Right? Then we got Jeremiah 5:1. Run ye through the streets of Jerusalem. See now, and know, and seek in the broad place thereof. If ye can find a man, if there is any. Oh, I read. Oh, my fault. I read that one. So let's go to Proverbs 21:6. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. Right? So then, a lying tongue, and we see the to and fro in it. How old has beyond? From Ai is spoiled. Cry ye, daughter of Rabbi. Grid you with sackcloth, laminate, and run to and fro by the hedges, for their king shall go into captivity, and his priest and his princesses together. Right? But then we got Ezekiel 27:19. Dan also and Javan going to and fro, occupied in their fears, brought iron, cassia, and calcium, where in the market. I don't know what the fuck that means. Pardon me. Right. But then we got Isaiah 33:4. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar, as the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Right? So, what is this to and fro? And how does it play a part? Let's go to the dictionary, right? Never let them run you in circles, right? This is, don't let them have you bickering back and forth. Gotta know the game, so I'm here to teach you the game, right? Look at the word chicanery, right? And you'll find what is chicanery. The use of trickery to achieve political, financial, or legal purpose. An underhanded person who schemes corruption and political chicanery behind closed doors. Right? So they work in secret. So this is the system, and we're bringing it to the light. Right? So an underhanded person who schemes corruption and political chicanery behind closed doors. Trickery, deception, deceit. Right? So what is the origin of this word? French. Right? And we will be, like I said, we will be getting into how the French play a part in this system. Easy way to tell if the devil is among you. How do you know? Because you'll see this system at play. Right? Once you understand the system, you can spot it anywhere. You could go, oh, okay. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the elements that you learn to spot it with. Right? So then, and where does this go to? Late 16th century, from chicanery or chicaner to quabble. Right? This is what it means to squabble, right? To this arguing, this bickering, right? So when we see the to and fro, right, and we understand, and when you go into it and you see it, in many of those verses within the Bible, you can actually see how this system works. Like I told you, it's the fruit of good and evil. So on one side is telling you how, to live amongst the people in one way, while on the other it's like a handbook of for troublemakers. Right? So don't think that everybody running around with that book is, just because they learned how to speak in a tongue that makes you believe that they're, of good. Don't believe that. They're there to infiltrate and, cause chaos and mayhem, or to put you within a certain boundaries or mind state. You understand what I'm saying? So with that is what we're dealing with, this art that moves the people, right? This chicanery is not just an individual thing, because it's a group effort that can be applied to individuals because of the larger unit that's connected to it. You know what I'm saying? So remember we were in the land of Nod, right? And we're talking about relating to sleep, right? So, this hypnosis, hypnotherapy, right? Origin, Greek, right? to sleep. Remember, we was talking about the land of Nod, right? And to put you in a sleep. That's why when you hear people saying woke, they're saying they're supposed to be putting you on to this game. But no, they're just arguing about what is written in the Bible without explaining the two systems that's utilizing this book. So they're not technically woke. They're just I guess, to say aware would be woke, but, you're aware of certain, it's like, REM sleep, where it's like you're waking up out of, it's like that middle ground of sleep and woke. Like how, like, you might hear somebody talking while you're sleeping and it'll come inside your dream. Like, that's where they're at with it. They're not necessarily woke because if they are woke, right, then and they're not telling you, then they're still a part of that system. If they're not breaking this down, then they're still a part of that system. Even if they're telling you they're woke, they're just trying to shift you into a new system, right? The woman is God and all of these other things. That's what's really going on. So you got to hear the suggestion within these arguments and these in the context of these conversations, that you be hearing. You gotta, the elusive parts of it, is them speaking to themselves while you're being shut out of the conversation, right? Basically. So, adorn spiritual. What is this? Sad and God. Okay, I think this is supposed to be adorned and okay, this is God. So we was the first part was just talking about, remember we was talking about the construction of God and how it could be a man, right? So that's just what that was picking up. But a schism, right? A split division between strongly opposed sections or parties caused by difference in opinions or beliefs. Right. The wandering schism, let me see. The wandering schism between church leaders and politicians, right? Split rift. So we can see this right there. I'm sorry, because remember I told you I'm looking at, on my screen is actually small and I don't want to make it big because then it'll, I have to redo everything. Anyway, exist. But this is actually, the exist part was referencing, because when you're talking to a lot of atheists, right, those are the middle grounders, and they, that's also playing a part with the French. So I'll be doing a whole thing on that too. So I won't be really touching on it. But inside that, one of the key things that you'll hear from an atheist is God exists. That's their key thing, exists. So I wanted to point out what that means and what God means, and how if you put them together, right, you would have a totally different conversation. So then we got belief, right? Acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists, right? One accept as true or real, right? A firmly held opinion or conviction, right? That's what a belief is. So it's not a fact, but it will be given to you, or you will take a belief as a fact. You can ask somebody a question and they be like, well, I'm not sure. And then answer the question with what they believe. And a lot of people will take that and run with it and make it a fact, meaning that you start off saying, I don't know, right? But I'm going to offer you my opinion. And now the opinion is where this whole world is being built around. Someone's opinion on a subject matter, right? Instead of actually knowing it or accepting the fact that they didn't have a solid answer, you took an opinion, which 90% of the population do, right? They'll take an opinion and turn it into a fact. Like they won't accept that the person who offered it to them did not know the answer and just leave it like that. No, they'll turn around and turn that opinion into a fact for convenience. I take it. I'm not really sure, why the human mind does it, but it's just something that seems to be an ongoing theme, right? So then we got rationalism, right? A belief or theory that that opinions and actions should be based on reason and knowledge rather than on religious belief or emotional responses. That's what we were just saying about how instead of you accepting what somebody tells you, like, I don't know, right? But then offer you with a possibility, right? Instead of leaving it as they don't know and not building a world around their opinion, that would be rational, right? But an irrational mind will also take that information and turn it into whatever they want, like basically build a whole world around it. And that's based on emotional responses, right? Because you have religious beliefs, right? And so a lot of emotional responses are still connected to religious beliefs, right? So then you got within philosophy a theory that reason rather than experience is the foundation for certainty and knowledge, right? The theory that reason rather than experience. See, that's just where I might disagree with philosophy. I feel that it has to be both, right? And in order for you to truly experience something, it should always be studying it, right? So if you even if you're playing, like, say, basketball, you should be studying it. You shouldn't just be bound. You would have to study how to shoot. You would know how to dribble, right? Those are all classes within the sport. So you have to learn these other things. You have to learn how to shoot, to score. You got to know where to, right? So it's not just to participate in running up and down the court. You have to have experience, and that's where I differ from that, right? In theology, practice of treating reason as an ultimate authority in religion, right? So see how in philosophy versus theology, we have like a difference, right? Because the practice of treating reason as the ultimate authority, right? Because in philosophy, the theory that reason rather than experience, so they both line up in that type of way, right? So in this, right, we learned that Cain had started this system, right? The Canaanites, should we say, started this system. We know who the Canaanites are. We don't have to go through this, right? We already know the history. We know how now they'll try to tell you, no, they was just in the land of Canaan and they was not the Canaanites and this, whatever. This system was set up, right, by the Canaanites, measurements, lines, all of the things that you see today. And we see a group of people who benefit off of this system. Now, after the system was set up, right, the lines and all of that, now to move the people, they traverse, they shift, how to shift society, should I say. How do you shift society? You traverse society. You have it going back and forth, arguing. So you have a group, right, that go to and fro, up and down the earth, and these people cause this confusion that we will call chicanery, right? And now in this chicanery puts you in a sleep state because the truth is hidden within the lie. So you're more engulfed in the lie, which would be the sleep, right? Because you believe in something rather than knowing something. If you know something, you're awake. We're woke when you know, right? When you accept things without knowing them, you are asleep. You don't know for a fact. You become a zombie. You walk around with a bit of information that is only there to, I guess, to move you at their will, right? So whatever like say if we look at gang banging or any of these things, we could say, okay, those are destructive elements, or these are elements for this. So when we see these elements put their Bloods and Crips, the traversing, the chicanery, right, the arguing, the speaking of two different groups, the symbolisms and all of these things, we can see a structure designed, right, to keep a certain thing going. And because the people are in the mix of that, they truly don't see it, right? They don't understand what's going on because they don't take the time to look and observe. They don't have the time, you know what I'm saying? Because they were started off already. Like they say there's only like a very small group of people who I guess are born with a certain questioning within them, right? Meaning that, you could be a child and you could question your parents. All people start off, all children start off with questions. But how many are content with the answers? Right? How many times you can ask somebody something, they say they don't know, give you an opinion, and you run with that. Right? Think about as a child, how many times, right, you have been given information based off of you questioning it. You might question something, been given information, and felt, okay, well, you know what I'm saying? And didn't look any further. But later on, you find out that after you done took it, built the whole world around it, right? Find out that wasn't actually true. Right? And so this is what we're talking about when we say sleep. Right? The sleep state, you're not aware. That's why when you hear the woke community, I'm not a part of the woke community, right? Let me say that off the rep. I'm not woke. I've never been asleep. You understand what I'm saying? I've never taken any information that that I've held as solid without me investigating it. In thorough investigation. You understand what I'm saying? So there's very few things that I'm convinced is solid and real. Most of it is belief, right? And belief moves the people. So it really, you know what I'm saying? Like how we say you got science and then you got a pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is a science. The fakeness, it still has an effect on the people, right? So whether you if you lying to somebody, it has an effect on them. If you're telling the truth to somebody, it has an effect on them, right? And then within that, you can see who is more comfortable with the lie. There are people, 90% out of the population is actually more comfortable with the lie than the truth. You know what I'm saying? And because it's the lie allows a person, like, it's like, say, um your girl or your wife, she's getting ready, and I'm not saying, I'm not pointing out women in this part, but just saying, right? Say your wife getting ready, she puts on a dress, right? She know goddamn well that dress is tight, right? She knows damn well she's spilling all out of it, but she asks you, does this dress or these pants make me look fat? Right? As long as you say no, which they want to hear, they want the lie so they can, go out in their world, right? As long as you do that, right, everybody is at peace. But if you say, yeah, that makes you look fat, you cause a tidal wave of problems. Not just for the person did inward, but because of how they internalize that, how they're going to give it back out to the world, right, is a whole different thing. So then you could see who appreciate, and you gotta be cautious. So you gotta do small things of telling the truth. Just to start off with, anybody you dealing with, you have to give them small doses of truth and see how they take the truth, right? And that's only for a small group of people who actually have taken the time. This part right here is me telling, for those people who have taken the time to discover the truth, right? While you was taking that time, you should have been noticing that the population around you is quite comfortable with living a lie. You just wasn't comfortable with the lie, so you spent the time to do research. So here's my warning to you as you go out into the world and give that information. Do it in small doses. Give out the truth in small doses to find out how much, because it's like, it could be, somebody in a deep sleep and you splashing cold water on it. It might not be you know what I'm saying? Take that. You know what I'm saying? You wake somebody up like that, it could turn to violence or no type of things because they wasn't built for the truth. You know what I'm saying? So remember, 90% out of the population is not built for the truth. They have conditioned themselves to accept their belief, right? And they want to condition everybody else to accept that belief as a fact as well. We could look at, like the trans community, he, her, they, them, right? And we see this reality that they want to be in and how it's imposing on society, right? If you say he or her, you could wind up in a big conflict because they are shifting the narrative right in front of your face. So how do you wake up a people who are being bombarded by this train of thought, this zombie state, of eating true information up, and rather you be a walking dead, nothing upstairs, to have nothing upstairs and to have you walking around, spreading the sheeples, giving, being like the mental handicap, the mental chain for the people around you because you so how do you say it, like enthusiastic or energetic within your belief system that was given to you, that it sounds convincing, so you pass it around to other people as a truth, when in reality, it was just a belief, a philosophy that was given to you, right? So with that, you have learned, the sleep, how to break yourself from out of a sleep. First, you have to be aware of the people around you who work to keep you in that sleep state. Now, once you are able to identify them, we'll call them the handlers. Once you're able to identify those who are there to keep you asleep with chicanery, traversing to and fro, this system within, the satanic system, Satan, going to and fro from the earth. So with that system, once you understand it, the winking of the eye, the whisperings, and all of these things, you can never, ever, be put in a sleep. Now, like I said, for those who was never in that state because they have always wanted to search to the truth, this is just telling you how to give the truth to those who live a lie, right? See, because there's not everybody doesn't deliberately want to live a lie. They just live a lie because that's all. It was the simplest thing to accept. So throughout that 90%, there is another 10% within that who can actually be given the truth, but you just got to do it in the kind of doses that they could handle in order for it not to be as confrontational. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's the number one thing, how these devils work. They work off of confrontation. You understand what I'm saying? Chicanery, bickering, arguing, causing conflicts that need not be there. That's how you spot the devil. If you want to know a wicked person, watch a person who works in secret. Right? Watch a person who does little underhanded shit and, call it messy or anything, who wink eyes and whistle, you can spot them. They'll be right next to you and you just look. That's why I was always trained to look in the eyes of people, right? When you're talking to people, or put yourself in a position where you have a good line of sight of the people, holding these conversations, right? So, until next time, this is the Valley of Dry Bones. I'm your host, Juice Winner, and we will wake the dead.